Hey YouTube, this is Tricksterschool429. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play a hunter. So first, let's start with the spec that I use. I'm a marksman spec, and basically what that means is all my talents go into marksman. Um, yeah, so this is basically my build. If you put everything, I didn't do rapid killing, but if you put pretty much everything into marksman, you get Chimera shot, silencing shot, those parts are huge. They mean a lot because, I mean, this here is 125% weapon damage, and this silences the target so they can't cast spells for 3 seconds. This True Shot Aura increases your damage by 10% for ranged weapons. Just all this stuff is what is the biggest part of it. Alright, so survival, I didn't put anything. My secondary spec, my dual spec is Beast Mastery. I didn't really like Beast Mastery, but I still have it for the Spirit Beast pet, which is pretty cool. Um, so, basically, how it works is survival is traps. Basically, they specialize. If you're a survival hunter, you specialize primarily in traps. So you're trying to stop the opponent or slow him down in some way or another. Now, doing that, I think, takes more skill than a marksman hunter, or it's more difficult to play. They're more towards PvP. Beast Mastery is kind of like a damage-taking hunter. They're not necessarily a tank, but they can take more damage than marksman or survival hunters. So, if you were a Beast Mastery hunter, two things that you will get are more HP, more defense, well, more armor obviously, and the one special thing that everyone loves is that they have that um, thing where they can have the spirit beasts as a pet. Now, they have mana drains and all this special stuff that makes them unique. So, let's go show you how to play a marksman hunter. Okay, so we're back, and what I'm going to show you basically is how to kill something in PvE as a pet, or as a hunter, marksman hunter. So I use a cat because they have DPS. Now, if you're still learning a hunter, I would recommend using a tanking pet, such as a crocolisk or a bear, something that can tank like a turtle maybe. So I use the DPS pet because they're the best PvE. If you're gonna go PvP pet, use a spider or like a crab or um, basically they're the balance pet. What they have also is they have stuns. Certain birds too are for PvP. Okay, so let's get started. What I like to do is have my pet walk up and prowl. Well, obviously he jumped out of prowl for whatever reason, but okay. So I like to let my pet attack him if I'm soloing, and I know it's a difficult monster to kill, and this is only like level 80 undead. It's not that hard, but I start off with auto shot so I can get its aggro range, or its aggro percentage. I see it's at 12%. Now, if I want to kill him as fast as possible, I would walk up to him and go full out on all my skills. The big thing about hunters is that something that people don't understand is you don't need mana. Well, you need mana, but you don't need mana regeneration food, like drinks and, what the hell? Okay, well, he's obviously glitched. Mana regeneration food, or drinks, because we have a thing called Aspect of the Viper. I'll show you once I get done killing another one or two. Also, if you feel like you're about to be killed, feign death and let your pet get a hold of the monsters. Feign death looks like this, as a 30-second cooldown. Now, during PvP, kill shot is a huge thing. Other than that, I don't really use it. Also, as you can see, my mana has jumped down to 6.5k. It's going up slowly. If I put an aspect to the Viper, you'll see how much faster it goes up. 4% every 3 seconds, I think it is, and when you're killing things, it goes up faster. So it's an easy way to get mana regeneration without having to use mana drinks, and that way you can carry more regular food for HP regeneration. Frostweave cloth is worth a lot because of the frostweave bandages that can be made, so I recommend taking it. Okay, another thing that hunters have is Hunter's Mark. Now, generally people don't put this on for regular soloing. It doesn't cost any mana, has 100 yards range, helps a lot. I would recommend putting it on everything, or at least try to remember. Also, if you're in PvP, and generally I don't use this for PvE just in case, like, I come across a horde and they start attacking me, Readiness is a really good skill. Basically, it restores all the cooldowns of your abilities except for Bestial Wrath, which is a skill that makes your pet look really big and increases his damage. Also, traps can help too. I like to put down explosive traps and snake traps. I do not recommend using snake traps on arms warriors because their skill Revenge, basically it collects up all the dodges and or something along those lines. The more dodges they get, the more they can use that skill, and I believe it generates rage too. So don't use that on warriors, especially arms warriors. So also use the stun that you guys have, the hunters have. It doesn't exactly stun them, but it slows them down. If you're running from a target, whether it's PvE or PvP, always use the sting, the serpent sting. You'll see that it does extra damage when you're running, then you can throw a stun on them or whatever, and then basically you have them down, and by the time your pet gets to them, they're almost dead. You can always feign death too. Feign death works. Readiness does resolve the cooldown of feign death, so if you feel the need to use feign death again, then just use readiness. And if you have already used readiness, then just wait for the cooldown. It's not like it's incredibly long. What I recommend doing for using readiness is use all the skills that have large cooldowns on them. Aim shot is only a 6 second cooldown. Arcane shot is only 6 second. Aim shot is a 10-second cooldown, so it's kind of up there. Tremere shot is 10 seconds. This silencing shot is 20 seconds. Multi-shot, if you use another skill, I think it's Tremere shot, it also starts the cooldown for multi-shot. Serpent Sting is like instant. I'll give you an example what I mean by instant. Like, basically has no cooldown, but there's no point in doing it like every 2 seconds because time for Aspect of the Viper. Now you'll notice my damage goes down when I use this. That's because it reduces 50% of your damage. So that way, I mean, you get mana regeneration out of it, but if you're doing low-level instances and that kind of thing, it doesn't really matter since you kill it since you kill what's in there pretty fast as it is. And now, as you can see, my mana is all the way up to 5.2k. Oh no, he ran away. Get back here. Alright, well, I'm gonna take some food, regenerate my health. Also, one thing that people get concerned about hunters is that they're only a PvE class. That's sort of true. A reason for this is that, at least in Lich King, is that they have a pet. Now, what do monsters go for in PvE? They go for your pet, right? Well, if you send them out to attack them first, they're gonna go for your pet. If you are in PvP, most people will go for your pet first, or for you first, because they know that your pet is just a figure and it doesn't do as much damage as you, for the most part, so they're going to go after you. Now, that's why hunters tend to be more of a PvE than PvP class. They're one of the easiest to start with in the beginning. That is because they they just tend to have more of an easy beginning. Like, they're the easiest class to learn if you're a first-time player. Paladins are as well. They're very easy to learn if you haven't played before. They can take damage, and they can deal damage, and they can heal themselves. So, I mean, they're a good class to start with if you're new to the game. Also, one thing that you want to use on a hunter, especially a marksman hunter, is Aspect of the Dragon Hawk. It has Aspect of the Monkey and Aspect of the Hawk built in, so it's like 2 in 1, and I think you only get it if you're a marksman hunter, so use it, you got nothing to lose. Also, use True Shot Aura all the time. It turns off if you die, so turn it back on. Distracting Shot is good for a boss, or if you're in an instance and the damage taker needs a minute or two for the healer to, or not a minute, but like a few seconds for the healer to bump his HP up. So this gives you 8 seconds to have the target to yourself, more than enough for the healer to target the warrior or whoever is tanking, the druid in bear form, whatever, and heal them. So use this if the tank needs help. Usually the instance leader or the dungeon leader will give you a heads up if he needs it. Snake traps are good for PvE. Why? Because they just do extra damage, and Immolation Trap is good also, but I'd rather use the Fire Trap if you're taking on more monsters. This is kind of like a 1v1, this is kind of like if you're taking on more monsters. So, also, Volley is your AoE. I'll give you an example. It does quite a bit of damage. As you can see, everything's almost down to about half HP. Put on Aspect of the Viper after your fights until your mana regens. Don't forget to turn it off when you're done regenerating mana. And then we're good. So, I think that's a fair enough guide on how to play a hunter. Trying to think of other things that I maybe missed. Keep your pet in Prowl. The only pets I believe that can go into Prowl are Fury pets, so put your pet in Prowl if you have a DPS / Fury pet. Most of the time they're cats or wolves. Yeah, that's how to play a hunter. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Strixer School 429.